in the beginning, when you're getting into this game or in it, you're going to be in the cycle of how to find good deals, analyze them quickly, write offers. Find good deals, analyze them quickly, write offers. And you're going to be in that cycle until you actually get one locked down. And then the financing and capital game is going to start. Now, most people think they need to figure out the financing and capital up front, or they need to have it kind of warmed up. That's really not the case. Now, you can have what's called soft commitments. And what I mean by a soft commitment, meaning between now and whenever you may get a deal, you can have people say, yeah, William, yeah, John, yeah, Cyril, yeah, Joanne, when you have a deal, I'd love to consider investing with you. You can send me some information on. That's a soft commitment. You can have plenty of those people in your bag and your Rolodex. So that way a little bit of a network is built because people know people that know people. And the more hands you shake, the more money you make. Okay, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. It is really simple, but it's also really hard, right? Because it requires you to actually talk to people. And I have a lot of people that tell me, well, I'm an introvert. Well, that's great. That just means you're more analytical, you're more thoughtful, which means your analysis can be better. People are going to probably trust you easier being a little bit more introverted. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. So don't let that be a deterrent. There's all kinds of limiting belief factors that we all, set in stone for ourselves that kind of walk us from doing stuff that we know we should do. We all do it. But this is the 5 pillars that you're going to go through in buying an apartment complex. Find, analyze, finance, close, and manage. Buying an apartment complex in the next 90 days. Okay. How can you actually pull that off? A 10 to 30 unit apartment deal in the next 90 days with $20,000 out of pocket. How could you do it? If I can show that to you this evening, would that be worth your time? Yeah, let's break that down because you don't need a lot of money, right? And so we're going to break through some limiting beliefs, kind of show you how to actually execute this plan and all of that. So you got to remember, you have 2 options. These are the only options you have. If you want to do multifamily, you have 2 options. You can do it, 1, all with your own money. That's an option. That's the option I started with. And then we got to a point where we started running out of our own money. And you can only get so far. It's not scalable. So that's option A. You can do it all with your own money, but then you need to have hundreds of thousands and if not millions of dollars right now to do option A. So the question is, who here in the chat, and maybe there's a few of you that have hundreds of thousands, and if not maybe 7 figures to go invest in the multifamily. If you do, congratulations, thumbs up. But answer it. I'm sure most people don't. That's more normal than not. So I'm going to show you how option B is your better route. And I would even argue that option B is a better route for you, even if you have millions, because now you can scale it correctly and run it correctly. You're still maintaining control. Remember, there's a big difference between ownership and control. You're never going to lose control and decision-making of any of these deals. You're going to have 100% of the decision-making, control, and power over any of these deals. You're just switching up the ownership percentages so that way other people can come into the deal and make money with you. Make sense? That's all you're doing. So that's the 2 options. Option B is your better route. Full disclaimer, you're not going to automatically become a millionaire tonight, just so you know. But you are going to have a chance to set the stage for you and your future self. And if this is something that you're trying to do to maybe get out of the rat race you're in, the 9 to 5, and stop working for the man, work for yourself, build some generational wealth for you and your family, financial freedom, the ability maybe at some point here to retire from your current position or leave your current position and go full-time into multifamily, that's an option. Maybe you're a current real estate investor and you're flipping or wholesaling houses. Maybe you're a real estate agent that's selling and transactional and you want to level up your game. That's another option why people come in. So usually it's what stops people usually is the lack of knowledge, right? Which most of you said is the case. And or you have the knowledge and skill sets, but you're really trying to scale and learn the other people's money game. And how do I actually put that together to execute and leverage my money with other people's money to go take this game, But I kind of disclaimer this, I wanted to be a millionaire for as long as I can imagine. And I don't know if any of you have done this. Have you actually said, okay, if I wanted to be a million liquid, I need to make $2,379 a day in a given year. Did you know that? Have any of you actually done that? Meaning in terms of wrote that down for yourself to say, yeah, if I wanted to make $1 million a year, that's $2,379 a day. Nicholas says, yes, he has. I love it. I love it. Yes. I mean, that is, an awesome game, even if you write yourself a check. I did that one year. I literally wrote out a check, posted it on my wall, and it said $1 million. I signed it, right, and put it there and wrote it to myself. So that way I could even visualize the game of that money. And it's amazing when it happens, right? But that's $2,379 a day. Currently, I own just over 1,000 units and about $186 million in real estate in about 5 different key states. Our goal is to get to $1 billion in real estate in about 10,000 or more units. So that's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. But let me ask you tonight, if by the end of the year, let's do 2 sides to this. We have 6 months left in this year. Believe it or not, 6 months are gone. You could probably get into 2 deals between now and the end of the year if you hustle. 1 deal for sure. 1 deal for sure, 2 deals if you're a rock star, which you can do. And they're going to be in the 10 to 30 unit space. The one thing I need everybody to understand is we got to push through this motivation. I need you to understand that, me included in this, I didn't know what I was doing. And I know you hear this a lot, right, from entrepreneurs. I didn't know what I was doing. I got started. I jumped off the cliff. I figured it out. I just made shit happen, right? All that other stuff. And you hear it left and right, right? But there's a lot of truth to that. And let me explain why there's truth to that. Because usually the only thing that separates somebody who actually makes it big from someone who hasn't made it big yet has nothing to do with your knowledge. It has nothing to do with your networks. It has nothing to do with your skill sets or money or lack of money or networks or any of that stuff. Education level. It really comes down to how bad do you want it, right? And what are you willing to put up with to go get it? And that comes with internal pain and motivation. And pain is usually what moves people. Pain is usually what moves people. It's not pleasure. If pleasure did it, then we'd all, be the best fitness people in the world and eat right every day versus go get fast food, right? Because the pleasure of making us feel good and look good would do it, but we don't. Why? Because it's usually the pain. But if your doctor came to you and said, you're going to die in 7 days if you don't get off the cheeseburgers, trust me, your ass would get off cheeseburgers. You get the point? So the motivation side of this is so critically important, but you can do it. Everybody in here can. It takes consistent discipline, right? Not just discipline, consistent discipline. And let me give you a perfect example of this. So this morning, I was set to wake up at 4:30 because I usually wake up between 4 and 5 a.m. every day. Work out and do my morning routine. And I went to bed late last night, 11:30. It was going to be really hard for me to wake up at 4:30. In fact, I was dreading it because I naturally woke up just a few minutes before my alarm went off. And I looked over and I'm like, oh God, it's going to go off. You've all been there. And it went off. And then I told Alexa to shut up, right? Because I didn't want to get up. But then I sat there to myself and I said, you know what? If I don't do this, I'm going to feel like I've let myself down, right? And then you don't feel good, right? Your energy sucks. You don't feel good because you're slowly letting yourself down. All these little promises that you make to yourself and you don't do, you're internalizing and actually letting yourself down. That's the lack of discipline and consistency, which then leads to many other things in your life. So I kid you not, I got to a point around right before 4:40 in the morning where I said, I yelled out, F it, right? And I almost rolled and threw myself out of the bed because I knew that was the only way I was getting my ass out. And then now I was out of bed. I couldn't get back in. So now I'm sitting there and I got to get my butt up and I got to get moving and I go ahead and start the morning routine. I make the bed, right? Make kids are still asleep and all that stuff's down. And now I start the morning routine and that process happens. And then you do the workout. And then by the end of it, you know what? You just feel so much better. That's the consistent discipline when you don't want to do it. That's the difference. Because it'd been very easy to sit there in bed and just go pass out for another hour and then wake up. But then you know what? I feel really shitty about myself that I let myself down again. And when you do that over and over again, it starts to set in place. This sounds nice, but nobody's giving away multifamily buildings anymore. You're right, Tom. They don't give away multifamily. But the reason that you think deals are hard to find and the market's oversaturated is because you may be looking in the wrong place. So we'll chat about that this evening here in just shortly. So the reason that you feel the way you do, Tom, is totally normal. That's because all you're seeing are the leftovers. Okay, when you're on LoopNet and you're on Crexy and you're on CoStar and you're on Zillow and Trulia and Redfin and Realtor.com and all the others portals, you're literally seeing the leftovers, especially when you get into the multifamily space, 5 units or more, because you're only seeing probably 30% of the inventory, maybe at best, at best. So once you understand the methodology at which a property comes to market, then that game will change for you. Okay, and we're going to go over that this evening. So stick with me. Okay, so your motivation. I want you all to know you can do this, right? You're smart enough and you guys got this. So I started with one condo, $100,000, and this was in 2010, right in the midst of the financial crisis. $25,000 down, $75,000 loan from Wells Fargo. Then cash flowed beautifully. 27% cash on cash returns. Now, it wasn't a lot of money, $500 a month, but the percentages were beautiful. That's how we started. That's how we started. And then we got into duplexes and fourplexes and triplexes and all this other stuff. And if I knew then what I know now, I would have fast-tracked right after the condo and done like a 10-unit deal. That's what I would have done. But we went through the process of doing the duplex, triplex, quads, got to about 20 units. Did anybody here go through the financial crisis? Anybody remember our beautiful time of 2008? I watched my dad go through a massive bankruptcy, and it was devastating. You know, he'd made it through, that was his 4th cycle. He'd made it through the 3 previous ones. This one was violent, right? We were in the midst of construction on a bunch of units and deals and stuff in Southern California, and everything went up in smoke. I mean, it was wild, right? And if you ever went through that and remember it, it was a party. It was a wild party. But I also say in moments of suffering, greatness is born, right? Moments of suffering, greatness is born. It taught me an enormous amount, which is what led to the multifamily game. So in 2008, we had the collapse, right? We had the collapse. 2008 to 2010, I ended up becoming an asset manager. And many of you, if you were working for mortgage companies, I may have represented your properties. So I was with a third-party asset management companies. We were handling Fannie Mae, Chase, EMC, Countrywide, Bank of America, WAMU. You name it, right? And I was helping as an asset manager dispose of all of the bank's properties, REOs, and foreclosures around the country. And I did that for about a 2-year span and, hiring out all the realtors, construction guys, renovations, cash for keys, evictions. You name it, I did it, up, down, left, right. And it was a wild time. But then I saw the market shifting from foreclosures into short sales, where, the homeowner controls the deal, but they still are selling it for distress. So we got out in 2010 through 2020, was pretty much a real estate broker and was helping with a lot of short sales for about a 2 to 3 year window. And then it transitioned right around 2013 into more traditional real estate. But we all started buying our properties right around this time. That was that first condo, $100,000. And that's how we got into it. So some of you are asking that kind of the trajectory to 1,000 plus units. I'll show you that here in a minute. In 2018, this is where the OPM game started, other people's money, because we started running out of our own money buying the properties we were at. So keep in mind timelines here. So 1 unit, 2010, $100,000. 8 years later, we got to 20 units, $3.5 million in assets, all with our own money, where we were having to put in $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 into each deal. It's a lot of capital tied into one deal. And we're thinking, this is great. Like, we have it made. Here's our retirement. Not realizing we're doing it the wrong way, right? The wrong way. And this is the way that most people do it because they don't know any better. And or you get into single family rentals. That's just a disaster of a hurricane. Trust me. Think about it for a minute. You go buy 10 single family rentals. They're all over the place. You have 10 roofs, 10 insurance policies, 10 different yards, 10 different tenants. One tenant moves out. You go from 100% occupied to 0. You're carrying that property. Now you're having to pay for the mortgage and all the expenses until you get it re-rented, on and on and on and on and on. So it's a disaster. You have no economies of scale in that. And I get it. Why people do it, they don't know any better. And it's more safe. It makes sense to them because they don't know the financing, capital, and structure game of multifamily. But that's why you're here. That's why you're here. So 2018, 20 units, $3.5 million. And this is where the signal game went off. Has anybody had kind of like a big kind of moment in your life that was kind of like you kind of like this moment of like life's short and I got to go for it now. Enough is enough. You know, when I say that pain moves people, right? Moments of pain are these trigger points in life. So 2018 was it for me because we had a nice little portfolio. Everything was cool. And then you have a tragic moment. So my sister passed away in 2018 due to autoimmune disease, 46 years old. It's a trigger point. And you start to realize how fragile life is. I mean, everybody, if you've been through tragedy, you'll understand this. And you start to have these epiphany moments of, you don't know if it's tomorrow for you or if it's next year or 50 years from now. But I got one life and enough of this playing small when I know that I'm talented enough and I'm capable enough to make this happen. I'm keeping myself small. And so I kid you not, I'm sitting there in the car, and this is when I was doing real estate sales, and I'm sitting there going, enough is enough. We got to go. Enough is enough. And I feel, our phones are always listening to us, right? So like an hour later, I'm scrolling through online and I come across a conference, a syndication conference that I could fly out to in Boston, Massachusetts, completely across the country. And I say, you know what? F it. I'm going. Bought my ticket, bought the ticket to the conference. I'm flying out. This was like, I think 60 days was in, I think June of 2018. And I fly out. And this is where the whole OPM game happened because I'm sitting there in a conference with 3,000 people. And some people are up on stage, so they're glorifying the people up on stage, and they have these units and they're doing this and having this success. And it was all wonderful. But I'm sitting there in the audience and I'm going, holy crap. If these people can do it, I can do it. I mean, if these people are pulling it off, not to say they're like, no geniuses and the sharpest tools in the shed, but I'm just saying if they can pull it off, I can pull it off. Okay. I can pull it off. So I went back after that, made a few connections, and I said, we're going for it. But I can't do it in Southern California because it's too expensive now. So now in order for us to invest, we got to go out of state. If you're in a good state, meaning if you're in any of the states in the middle part of the country or outside the coastal zones, even in the Southeast is great, by the way, right? Even if you're in the Southeast, it's great. But if you're in some of the high tax states, high expense states, really tough, right? So you're going to have to migrate out of those states and invest in other parts of the country to make it work. But you could be in a great state right now. And you don't need to. It could be right in your backyard. And that's a beautiful thing if you're in that situation. I had to go halfway across the country and invest in Kansas City, Missouri. That was our first deal, 27 units in Kansas City, Missouri. And that was like our first syndicated deal of using our money with other people's money and putting this thing together. And I'll show you that in here just a minute. But 2018, right? 2018, we go from 20 units and $3.5 million. Fast forward today, just a few years later, and now we're over 1,000 and 186 million as of today. And we're still going. We want to go to 1 billion and 10,000 units. That's our goal. But this was literally my first deal. 27 unit, Kansas City, Missouri. And we took it from this little Hobunk kind of piece of crapper. Beautiful little design though, mid-century looking. And then with about 300-400 grand, we turned it into this sexy thing. And we've made a lot of money on it. And that was the first one. We brought in about $75,000 of our own money. We got an acquisition fee, and you'll learn about this, about 45 grand. So we had about $30,000 physically out of pocket and had control of a multi-million-dollar 27-unit deal in the Midwest. Okay? And that's how this game gets played. This is how you use OPM, other people's money, with yours to invest in apartment deals just like this. Okay? So we're going to get away with a few of these mindset things tonight, and I want to get into some limiting beliefs that we got to chuck out the window. Do you have to use your own money? Kevin, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You have to use some of your own money. Now, here's another way around it, Kevin. Here's another way around it. You need to understand you're bringing one of two things to the table. So this is how this game works. You're either going to bring the sweat equity or the check equity. So if you don't have the money, that's okay too. You can learn the sweat equity side. And then all you're going to need, though, is a partner that you can actually partner with on your company that then can go out and do this OPM game. So your company now is going to go out and do this OPM game, not you individually. That's the difference. But yes, if you have a partner, somebody in mind that's got $50,000 that they can actually, you can partner, right? You can run the show, do all the sweat equity. They're going to bring the capital in. That way you now are partnering together. Then you can go play this game too with no money out of pocket. That's another option. You just need to bring the sweat equity or the check equity. Make sense? And that's how you'll do it. How you can buy a 10 to 30 unit apartment deal in the next 90 days with $20,000 out of pocket. Well, we need to get through a couple small beliefs that we got to throw out the window. The first one being that you need a lot of money to get started. I'm going to show you that's just not true. Second one being that multifamily is too complex, right? You can't do it. It's too complex, right? I don't think I'm good enough to do it. Can I actually pull this off? All that limiting belief stuff, we got to check that out the window tonight. I got to get you to believe because I know you can do it. I know you can. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, I literally sat in that audience and I'm like, holy cow. If these people can pull this off, I can pull this off, right? You just gotta believe a little bit in yourself. You gotta jump off the cliff, okay? That's the only way you're getting to where you want to go. And then the last belief is that deals are hard to find. The market's oversaturated. Tom, just a minute ago, he said, I can't find deals that make sense. And I said, I know why. That's why I asked you first, where are you looking for deals? And you said all the websites. I said, that's why. You're getting the leftovers. That's why none of the things make sense. You're literally seeing the leftovers. You're seeing all the crap. You're not getting behind the scenes, which is where stuff gets done. I'm going to show you that tonight. So let's talk about the money side. Belief number one that we're going to chuck out the window for you tonight. I need a lot of money to get started. That's the belief. I need a lot of money. Kevin, you just said it. I need a lot of money. No, you don't. So let's take a basic deal here. Let's say this was a 15-unit apartment deal. You're buying for $100,000 per unit. That's 1.5 million bucks. Okay, 15 units, 1.5 million bucks. You're going to do some renovations, maybe $10,000 a unit or so, $100,000. Then you have closing costs, legal, title, escrow, your acquisition fee, all that stuff is in there, $50,000. So your all-in cost is $1,650,000. You tracking me so far? Now, here's how financially it's going to break down when you do the syndication game at OPM, other people's money. You're going to go out and get a loan for about 70% of the cost. It's about $1,150,000. The bank's going to make sure this thing works, otherwise they're not giving you the money. Does anybody know why it's easier to get a $1,150,000 loan on a commercial multifamily apartment than it is to get a $100,000 house loan? You have to understand that an apartment complex is like its own operating business. Literally. Revenue, expenses, EBITDA, profit, net operating income. Same thing, right? They call it net operating income when you get to multifamily or commercial. If you get into business, it's called EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization, EBITDA, profit, however you want to calculate it. But it's its own operating business, and the bank knows that. So the bank comes in here and it says, listen, if this thing makes sense, debt coverage ratios, right? Somebody threw out DSCR. That's correct. Debt service coverage ratios. And it makes the financial metrics. The bank's going to throw the money out the front window and hit you in the forehead with it. Because they know that, hey, as long as you're not a fraud and your credit score is over 600, and the property makes financial sense, we're going to give you the loan. It's operating itself. It's paying for itself. We just need to make sure that it's going to take care. And then we rock and roll. And then you're going to bring in some down payment. So this is what stops most people. Because now the equity, if you just looked at this thing from the surface, you'd be like, holy crap, I need $500,000 in down payment. Yes, you do. Now, if you played the game like we used to play and we did it all with our own money, we'd come in with $500,000 and we have 100% of it. Well, the problem is we're limiting our ability to scale. Our money's not really working for us the correct way because now we're stuck. All $500,000 is now stuck in this 15-unit apartment complex. Whereas I could probably take $500,000 and go buy 100 apartments. See where I'm going with it? Or more if I do this the correct way. So me, if you do this game right, I'm only going to come in with 10% of the money. That's 50 grand. The rest of it is the OPM game, other people's money. Who here has fear of raising capital and using other people's money? Kevin says no fear. I love it. I don't want to deal with other people and have to account for what's going on. Totally fine, Tom. Then you just need to understand that you're going to be limited, right? You just need to do it all with your own money. So you need to come in with $500,000. And if you have $500,000 in cash, then you can pull this off all on your own and you can control it. Now, keep in mind, Tom, when you do this game, you're not losing control. You're not losing control. You have full control of decision making and you're running the show. You're calling the shots. You dictate what happens, period. It's just a matter of how much ownership equity you're giving up, right? No different than if you were on Shark Tank and you come in with 100% ownership of your company and you need to raise some money. The sharks say, great, give me 20% and I'll give you 200 grand, right? It's the same concept. You're just doing it with an apartment building, okay? And you're not having to give away as much. So that's the game. So you're going to come in with 10%. The OPM is 450,000. That's 90% of the money. Now watch how this thing works, okay? Here's the cool part. So for 10% of the money in, you're going to 4x your ownership. So for 10% of the money, you're getting 40% of the ownership. You have 100% of the control. You're getting other fees and everything built into it on top of it. In this case, a 2% acquisition fee, which would be $30,000. So I want you to understand this. You're coming in with 50,000. You have 30,000 trading itself in the air. So you're really only out of pocket about $20,000, physically out of pocket. And you have control of a multi-million-dollar apartment complex for $20,000 out of pocket versus $500. Think about that for a minute. So for $20,000 out of pocket, I control a multi-million-dollar apartment complex versus if I did it on my own, I'd come up with $500,000. I want to make $10,000 to $20,000 a month, Justin, in income. How many deals do I need to do to make this happen? The answer is simple, 3 to 4. 3 to 4 deals in the 10 to 30 unit space will produce $10,000 to $20,000 a month, $2,500 to $4,000 per deal. That's where you get it. So I get it all the time. Hey, I'm in a 9 to 5 job. I'm earning good income. I have something else. Great. I don't want to leave that. I need to make this over here while that's still going. And then at some point, right, I can transition, but I need to get at least $10,000 to $20,000 a month to have a choice to make. Beautiful. This is how you do it. 3 to 4 deals. Next question that I get. How much time do I need to dedicate to be successful in this to get started? The answer is 5 to 10 hours a week, an hour to 2 a night, an hour to 2 a night. That's how I did it. That's how I transitioned. I was a realtor full-time, 10 hours a day, come home, spend time with family for a couple hours, kids, all that stuff. Kids go to bed. Dad's on the computer looking for deals, analyzing them, writing offers. Looking for deals, analyzing them, writing offers. Did that cycle till the first deal pops. An hour or 2 a night. And then now you got a rock star and now you're rocking and rolling. Your first deal happens. Okay, but that's the cycle you're going to go through 5 to 10 hours a week and you can actually execute this plan. Okay. So the belief that you need a lot of money to get started. So let me ask you this here in the chat. Arinzi, you don't like debt. That was a good point. You just made a statement. Why don't you like debt? Gillian, I don't know anyone or any time with money. Yes, you do. You just don't know that you do. You don't have a fear with the right mentor to show me the way to do it. Beautiful. Valerie says, I don't know anybody with money. You do, you just don't know it. I'm going to teach you how this game works. Nicholas, no fear. You're not scared to use other people's money. Just don't know anyone with money. You all know people with money. You just don't know that you know people with money. It's because this is a limiting belief system. Trust me. I used to think the same thing. What is the acquisition fees? Acquisition fees are what you get paid. It's one of the 5 to 8 ways you get paid for doing a syndication. This is multifamily, where you're using your money in conjunction with other people's money. You're running the show for all the work you do. One way you get paid is an acquisition fee. Another way you get paid is the cash flows. Another way you get paid is the profits. Another way you get paid is construction management fees. Another way you get paid is the tax benefits. Another way you get paid is asset management fees. Another way you get paid is refi fees and disposition fees. On and on and on and on. The list keeps going. Okay? But we'll get into that. But let me ask everybody in this thing. If you found a deal a 20 unit that made financial sense, meaning it produced 15, 20% a year on your money, and you did it in the next 90 days, who here has access to $20,000 to $50,000 right now? Yeah, I mean, that's part of the game. Because if the answer to your question here is yes, then you can execute this game. And let me show you how. So you're going to come in with 20 to 50,000 bucks. You're going to get 40% of the deal. So you're 4Xing, right? It's 10% of the money for 40% of the ownership. You're going to get acquisition fee, right? Then you're also going to get paid 5 to 8 other ways, combinations of fees and cash flows and other things I'll show you in a minute. So your returns are stupid. And I'm going to give you case studies and everything to show you how this game works here, okay? So the belief that you need a lot of money to get started, it's just not the case. 20 to 50 grand, right? Yeah, it's a decent amount, but it's not a lot of money. And you need to have some money. Anybody that's telling you don't need any money is full of crap. Okay, and the reason why they're full of crap is because the only way you can get people to give you money is if they know you have some skin in the game. Try going to somebody today and telling them to invest with you, and then they ask you how much money you have in it, and you're like 0. Best of luck to that one. Right? What do you think? If somebody tells you I have no money in the deal and I want you to give me 50K, what is your thought? What's your thought? You don't believe in it. Why would I do it then? Why don't you have money in the deal? Why would I put money if you don't put money in? All that stuff is going to go. You're not raising any money, guys. It's going to be very, very difficult. So this is why some money is needed. Even though it's not a lot, some money. But this allows you to scale. Okay. Reich said, what can you bring in sweat equity? Sweat equity is the deal ability to find, analyze, raise capital, close, finance, manage all the deals and the company. That's a very valuable skill set. Very valuable skill set. So if you can actually execute that, that's the sweat equity. So that way somebody with money, all they need to do is give you money and you execute the plan. They collect a check. Right? They don't do any of the work. You do all the work. That's the sweat. That's very valuable. That's how I even got started because I didn't have a lot of money at the time. My partner did. He brought in some of the initial capital. I brought the know-how. Bada bing, bada boom. That's how Brennan Capital was started in 2010. And we got our first deal. So you can do that. That's an option that I brought up earlier. If you have somebody you know that would partner with you who does have capital, then you become the sweat. But you need to learn. You need to know how to do this, which is very valuable. You're basically becoming a neurosurgeon of apartments. Think about it like that. Neurosurgeons get paid a lot of money. Why? They're solving big money problems, right? A hedge fund manager. Why do they make so much money? They're solving $1 million problems. When you're doing apartments, you're solving $1 million problems. Therefore, you have an opportunity to make millions of dollars. That's how it works, right? The bigger the problem you solve, the more money you get to make. Your income is directly related to the problems you solve. Directly related to the problems you solve. So if you want to make a bunch of money, you better go find a way to solve big problems. That's how the world works. But this is how the game, you don't need a lot of money to get started. You just don't, okay? You just don't. Belief number 2, multifamily is too complex. I can't do it. I don't believe in myself. I don't really believe I can do it. All of you started doing that. You just did it a few minutes ago. I don't know anybody with money. I don't think I can do this. All the limiting belief factors around the financing and capital. I get it. It's very easy to fall into that trap. But you need to understand that this game follows literally in this chronological order. Deal, debt, equity. Deal, debt, equity. If you have a great deal that makes financial sense, the money will find you. It always has, it always will. You just need a great deal first. Then you have the debt, which comes in from the loan, which is easy to get because the deal's a good deal. The bank's going to throw the money out the front window, hit you in the forehead with it. And then the last part is the equity. You're going to bring in 10% of it, of which a lot of you said you have. Awesome. Now the game becomes, how do I raise the rest? And how do I learn that process to raise the rest? Because the skill set of raising money, don't let it be a limiting belief for you. You've got to jump off the cliff and throw that away. If the deal makes sense, meaning if I were pitching a deal tonight to all of you here, and I said, hey, I have this 30-unit apartment building in Kansas City, Missouri. Projected returns are 18% a year on your money. It's a minimum investment of $25,000. Who here may have some interest? Who here literally may have some interest in that? Probably a decent amount of you. And then your next response to me is probably going to be, great, I may have some interest. Can you send me some more information? Can you send me some more information? And my response is going to be, yes, I can. I'm going to send you the pitch deck. That's going to break the deal down. It's going to show you what the deal is, how much money we're raising, what your investment is, how much money you make, and when you get your money back. It's going to break it all down. It's going to answer 95% of your questions. And then we're going to go over a few other ones. And people know people and know people and know people. Trust me. The people in your immediate circle may not have money. Fine. You're not selling them. People around people know people know people know they want to move money. They want to invest in real estate. The problem is they just need a good deal to invest in, and they need a trusted person to invest with. That's where you come in. You see where I'm going with it? So you don't need to be an expert, right? You just need to have a skill set to be able to go execute this plan. Because none of these people were experts. None of these people in our community were experts. All of them were novice real estate people. I would say maybe 20% of the community has wholesaler, flipper, rental property background, actual real estate agent background. A vast majority are entrepreneurs, business owners, 9 to 5, and they're trying to move away and do other things in real estate. And so they have to learn this process. But they were just like me when I went to that conference and I was sitting there and I finally had the epiphany, like, holy crap, I can do this. And I was holding myself back for years because I just had this limiting belief about capital, raising money, financing, all the stuff that all of you mentioned in your chat. All of you did it. You did the same thing I did. But take ATGS, for example. All right, take ATGS. Right, she came in here. She was in the medical field and English second language, and she jumped in and made it happen. But what you need is a process. You need a process that you can follow step by step, a blueprint that pretty much breaks everything down into different pillars, allows you to navigate through it confidently, and rock and roll. Rock and roll. Let me see. I think you'll probably be able to hear this. Make sure that the volume's up and you can hear it.
So as soon as I listened to the crash course, I got hooked. It was so funny because that one is a small course. Yep. However, I think I shared with you before that one of the parts that I enjoy the most is that you simplify language for many of us, and English is my second language. So I really enjoy the way that you were teaching and
being able to kind of explain the complex details and nuance in a layman's terms, simple format to where it actually resonates. Is that what I'm gathering?
Because there is a lot of terminology out there for real estate that seems very intimidating, especially for those who are new to the real estate investment business. And you made it so easy and simplify it in a way that for me resonates. It reminded me a little bit of the Rich Dad Poor Dad book. It's like that.
I will take that compliment. Very good.
Yeah, and oddly enough, in a cool way too. So ATGS is part of the community, but she also ended up passively investing in one of our apartment deals, right? Because she does both. She actively invests and now runs things herself, but she also scales her money. And in the medical field up in the Bay Area in San Francisco, makes good money. Makes good money. She just needed to deploy that capital correctly, and she does both now, which is great. And I love. So there's that end of it, and then you have. We have Steve. I love Steve. He's one of our contractors in the community in the Midwest. Got his first deal in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, Ohio is a great market, by the way. If anybody here in Ohio or the upper Midwest, Indiana, any of that stuff in the upper Midwest, I'm curious. Anybody in here that's tonight in there? But Steve was in the Midwest, 39 units. Not too complex for a contractor. Super stoked for you. Everybody give Steve a clap. So 39 units. That was the Cleveland deal we were talking about. And how many stories is that thing?
It's 4 stories, a little over 40,000 square feet with 4,000 square feet of commercial space.
Right.
And is very challenging.
Is that the one you're getting the tax advantages on and all that stuff too?
Years tax.
Yeah, so you got almost 100% tax abatement on that thing because the city really wanted to redo it and stuff. And then let's take Brian Tran, like dog walker, owns a dog walking company. He's now on his third deal, closing 53 unit in Tulsa, but his first one was a 20 unit in Oklahoma as well. So he did that. He pulled it off. And then when he posts on Instagram with some cool music about when he closed on that first deal, I love it. I love it. Does anybody know any of these faces? Chime in the chat if you're seeing your screen. Does anybody know any of these faces? Because they were not experts when they got started. Now they're major players. You know, some of them you may see online, but they had to learn it, right? They had to learn the process of how to do this, but they were willing to leap off the cliff and make it happen. There's just no way around it. But they had to have a little bit of faith in themselves and do it. I mean, heck, you take even someone like a Grant Cardone. I mean, he was doing single family flips and rentals in Houston, Texas, before he came out to Southern California and then finally got into the multifamily game. And that was in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then Brandon Turner with bigger pockets, and now he's running his own thing. Ryan Pineda, Carlos Reyes, apartment rockstar. He's incredible. Mr. Robert Martinez up here out of Houston as well. These are all major players in the industry, but they were not experts when they got started. So we got to get over those beliefs and throw those out the window. Have a little bit of faith in yourself that you can execute this. Okay. If you know what you're doing in your handheld, you can execute this plan. Okay. So belief that multifamily is too complex and all the stuff you're having in your mind. Can I do this? I don't know anybody with money. I can't raise money. I don't know what to do. I don't believe that I can actually pull this off. You got to take those and I need you to chuck them out the window. You got to chuck them out the window. You got to believe, because I know you can do this. Right. But you got to have a little bit of faith, follow the procedure and the process, deal, debt, equity, in that order, right? In that order, okay? So remember, you're bringing the sweat equity or the check equity. The sweat equity or the check equity. Bring one or the other. And if you're lucky enough, you can bring both to the table, right? You're kind of unicorn if you can do both. But if you don't have the money, that's okay. Then you need to have the knowledge and the skill set to execute, because now your skill levels are up. You become extremely valuable to somebody with money. You see how that game works? It's either the skills go up or you bring in the cash. It's much easier to raise your skill level than it is to bring in the money for most people I know, right? Because you can learn the skills and execute with those skills, and now you make yourself extremely valuable to somebody with money. And that's how the game is played. Belief number 3 that we need to chuck out tonight: that deals are hard to find, the market's oversaturated. You're right. You're right. It is if you do it alone. But there's only 2 ways to find deals. And Tom, this can go straight to you because I want you to understand how deals come to play in the marketplace. Direct to broker or direct to owner. Direct to broker or direct to owner. Those are the only 2 ways you're finding multifamily apartments. Okay? Only 2 ways. So the belief that deals are hard to find, the market's oversaturated. If you do it alone, deals are hard to find. You're right. If you're simply using the websites, deals are hard to find because you're only seeing about 20, 30% of the inventory. So the way that a multifamily commercial product or any commercial property comes to market is just like this. The brokers and their teams are calling people like me every single day. And they're asking us, would you like to sell? And 90% of the time, our responses are no. But they'll get everybody to say yes. And then once someone like me says yes, now the broker is putting together a nice little marketing package. He's circulating that marketing package amongst his 25 to 50 investor people in his little network. The property is going to sell about 90% of the time right there. It will never make it to Crexy, LoopNet, CoStar, any of the websites you're talking about, which is why the ones you're seeing on those websites, you're looking at them and you're frustrated because they all suck, right? Financially, you're sitting there going, "What? This doesn't make any sense." I know it doesn't. And it's not that deals don't sell from those websites. It's that they typically need to be pretty heavily negotiated because they're usually overpriced. Because the only reason they made it to the website is because everybody passed up on it who were in the real buyer pool. The pre-market, I call it buyer pool. And that's where most of the deals, 90% of them are executed right there. They never make it to the websites. It's not so much that they're not getting full dollar, Tom. Usually they won't sell. A lot of them won't sell on those websites. The seller will sit there and they won't sell. So it's not, there's plenty of buyers. The real buyers, the real game is in the pre-market phase. You can call it off-market, pre-market, whatever it is you want, but that's where the real game is played by the real players that know what they're doing and they can get behind the scenes, develop a little bit of broker relationships, and execute the pre-market inventory. Because that's where the stuff you'll underwrite and you'll look at the numbers, you'll be like, holy shit, this makes sense. Let's make an offer. Yes, because you're actually looking at a deal, right? A real deal, right? There were the numbers pencil versus a hope and pray where we're going to check it out on the websites and see if we can get some chump to overpay for it. So that's that part of the game. And it's there, it's part of it, and you just have to heavily negotiate them. That's how the process works. And that's commercial real estate 101. Okay. So the direct to broker approach, you're going to leverage the brokers on market listings. So Tom, to get to the brokers behind the scenes, you're going to leverage their on market Crexes and LoopNets and all that stuff, because that's going to show you who's doing deals. But you're going to leverage their on market deals to get access to them, build a little bit of rapport. And then, hey, John, Mr. Broker, this deal's not making a lot of sense. We're too far apart. I'm sure you have some deals maybe you're working on. I'm going to buy. I'd love to buy through you. Do you have stuff that maybe you can send me in email that's in your pre-market inventory? Stuff you're working on, putting together. Not there yet. Awesome. Great. Boom. Then you start seeing the real inventory. And then you're going to start saying, holy crap, this stuff makes some sense. But that's the game. So you leverage the brokers on market to get to their off market, build a little rapport and access. So that's the direct to broker approach that I use to get started. We teach. There's nuance to that. You need to know what to say, what not to say, how to approach it, not to approach. But that's why people learn, get in communities, right? Mentorships, all that. So that way you fast track the time and avoid mistakes. That's why people do that. Then you have the direct to owner approach. And now before, you'd have to go drive around and find deals and do kind of the guerrilla marketing tactic. Today, there's good software, right, with AI, and it'll allow you to find deals, and then you can market directly to them to get an owner like me to raise my hand and sell the property directly to you. That's the direct to owner approach. And there's software that does that. We have one now called realestateradar.ai, realestateradar.ai, and I'll show you that here tonight. So that's the direct to owner approach. So the belief that deals are hard to find and the market is oversaturated, if you do it alone, the deals are hard. You're right. Right? But if you do it collectively, the do it together method, that's where the deals are found. Through collaboration, through partnerships, through deal making, community, all the above. Right? That's when deals are found that make financial sense and you can take them down individually or collectively. So people ask the difference between single family and multifamily and the ways you get paid. The ways you get paid. So with single family, okay, you're getting paid 1 to 2 ways typically. You flip a house, you wholesale a house, short-term rentals, single family rentals, 1 to 2 ways, cash flow and profits, right? Cash flow and profits. In multifamily, the list is long, 5 to 8 different ways. Not only are you getting the cash flow, you're also getting the profits, plus you're getting fees like acquisition fees, asset management fees, fees at the sale, finder's fees, construction management fees, capital raising fees. You get all these massive bonus depreciation tax benefits that wipe out all your income. If you want to know the holy grail, we teach the Tax Hacks 101, how you can avoid taxes for the rest of your life. Okay, that's how you do it, right? If any of you are high income earners and you're getting hosed on your taxes, I mean, unless you enjoy sending a check to Uncle Sam, I mean, if you enjoy it, by all means, go for it. Otherwise, it's sitting in a black hole. It's earning you nothing. You might as well put it into an asset, get the write-offs, and then, sail off into the sunset and make a bunch of money. But that's the benefits of the multifamily game, is through that. So these are all the different ways you get paid in multifamily versus single family, okay? So let me give you a case study. Kind of break the money down so you understand the value in doing this OPM game, other people's money through syndication, and why this is so valuable to you if you have the skill sets to execute. So take this 31 unit deal. $19,000 I physically had out of pocket on this. And let me show you how it broke down. We bought this thing for $1.5 million. We put in $400,000 in renovation. Closing cost was $225,000. In this closing cost included legal, title, escrow, acquisition fees, raising capital fees, a bunch of stuff in this closing cost number. All in $2.1 million, all in cost. Now we went out, we got a loan for about 70% of that, about $1.5 million loan. This was easier than getting a $200,000 house loan. Then we had to bring in $645,000. Now, If I didn't want to play the OPM game, I'd be sitting here saying, crap, I got to come up with $650,000 on my own to have 31 units. Why would I do that when I can only come in with 10%, own 40% of the deal? That's 64 grand out of pocket versus 650,000. And I still get to have control, 100% control, and 40% of the ownership for bringing in only 10% of the money. But it gets more fun. Wait, they're bringing in 90%. We brought this in with 7 people. 7 people brought in $581,000. So let's keep going. I got an acquisition fee for 45 grand. I think that was about 2 or 3%. Sound about right? Yeah, 3% is 30 grand. It was about, yeah, I'm sorry. 2% is 30 grand. This was a 3% acquisition fee, 45 grand. So I was out of pocket 19 grand. $19,000 out of pocket, and I had control of a multi-million-dollar asset, 31 units in the Midwest for $19,000. I mean, you can't even buy a car for that. So what do I get for this? 24 months later, right? 24 months later. Now the value's up because remember, we renovated the property. We did $400,000 in renovation. We raised the rents. We interior did improvements, exterior did improvements. Now we raised the rents. Now the value went from $1.5 million to $3.6 million. We did what's called a cash out refinance. We pulled out $2.5 million in a new loan. We paid off the old loan of $1.5 million. We paid back all the investors, including ourselves, by the way, $650,000. Plus all of our returns. We pocketed an additional $355,000. By the way, tax-free because it's debt. Did you know debt's tax-free? If you didn't, you know today, debt's tax-free. Got an asset management fee of 1% a month, 40% of the profits and all the cash flow. So what did that equate to me in dollars and cents? $2,000 plus a month over 5 years, that's 120 grand. Net profits from the sale of 470,000. So for $19,000 out of pocket, I made $590,000 on 19,000. That's a 32x on my money. My returns were stupid. I mean, they're stupid, right? And you're asking yourself, well, how does this work? How do you get to make this kind of money? It's because I learned $1 million problem solving. Remember? If you solve $1 million problems, you get to make lots of money. I'm solving big problems here. I'm becoming a neurosurgeon for apartments, a hedge fund manager for apartments. Because of that skill set, now I get to leverage it and scale it. This is how the game works. If you want to make lots of money, you need to raise the skill sets to solve bigger problems. Because I'm solving big problems for not only me, but other investors and people, everybody's making great money. I get to make awesome money too. That's how the game works. How does that work recently with 6% rates? Kevin, prices come down. Cap rates go up, prices come down. That's what's happening in the market. It's a whole shit show going on, if you want the honest truth. I mean, you're seeing it's a mixed bag market where some stuff's on distressed and selling. Other stuff people are holding on to. If you don't have to sell right now, you don't, right? So there's a lot of assets we have. We're not selling because we don't need to sell. And we wouldn't sell in this kind of market where we're going to take a big hit. We're just going to wait because we're cash flowing. Everybody's making money. We're doing good. Let's just ride it out. That's the beauty of multifamily. The market could do fugazi. I don't really give a rat's. I have fixed rate debt. We're sitting tight. We're cash flowing great. Rock and roll, baby. I mean, we can ride up, down. We can take on some vacancy. You know, we don't need to be 100% occupied. We can go through a recession. That's the beauty of multifamily. It's has a risk tolerance at medium level. And you get to make great money doing it and make multiple fees, multiple ways. Become a multi-millionaire if you want to do it. But you got to learn a very valuable skill set. And this is why you're here, right? This is why you do it. So my promise I made tonight, I think, how to buy a 10 to 30 unit apartment deal in the next 90 days with $20,000 out of pocket. I think I showed you that. We took some of these belief patterns. I'm hoping I got you guys to release some of them tonight, that you don't need a lot of money to get started. You can do it with $20,000, $50,000. $20,000 to $50,000, you can execute this game. If you don't have that right now, that's okay. You still need to learn and you need to execute. Belief number 2, that multifamily is too complex and I don't have the skills to do it. I don't believe I can do it. No, you can do this. I need you to take that and you need to release it tonight. You absolutely can do this. You need a skill set. You need to learn it. Belief number 3, that deals are hard to find. The market's oversaturated. Only if you're looking for them in the wrong place. And if you're doing it alone, then you're right. Deals are hard and the market is oversaturated. But if you do it the right way, there's plenty of opportunities out there. You just need to know how to find them and where to find them. So that's how that goes. Couple other FAQs. What if I can't find a good deal? What if I can't find a good deal? Well, in our community, we have a guarantee that we're going to give you one through our Deals on Demand program. And we do that through our software. We wholesale multifamily. We take deals on ourselves that we want to do. We give things out. If we have to do it through our guarantee, we give them out too, that are pre-vetted on a silver platter. That's not a problem. How do I raise money legally and confidently? Raising money sounds intimidating. I get it, especially with SEC rules involved. How do I do it legally, financially, structure it, like all the things that you're going on in your brain cells. I get it. I had to learn the exact same things, but it's a very valuable skill set. People fear asking people for money. And they don't want to do it because they don't feel credible enough to attract investors, etc. So you need 3 things to raise money. You need a deal that makes financial sense. Remember I said deal, debt, equity? Deal that makes financial sense. A pitch deck that helps explain what the deal is to give you 95% of your questions answered about it. Number 3 is a process when someone like me raises our hand and we want to give you the money to actually bring the money in. This is all stuff you learn. But once this is in place, bada bing, bada boom. Okay? What if I mess up the numbers? If you do it alone, you probably will. But this is why someone is alongside you to teach you, hold your hand, mentor, but also review the numbers alongside you when you're getting started to avoid the mistakes. This is all the stuff we do. The other part, who's going to manage the properties? Third party. This is why you hire good property managers. We teach the process so that way you're hiring correctly and you're not having to deal every day because you probably have a job, a career, other things you're doing to earn money for your family while this is growing. You don't have time to deal with the toilets and tenants every day. So you need that process. Once again, hire it out, learn it. This is what happens. You got to know how to hire the property managers. This is all teachable skills, not hard. So this is our software that we developed with our developer friends called realestateradar.ai. And you can trial it out today. Not a problem, but I'm giving you guys that opportunity in this place. So this is all powered by AI. It's a real estate investing software. I'll show you all the stuff it kind of includes. There's a demo video here I can show you here briefly. But the different types of leads, absentees, active listings, free and clear, high equity, low equity, all that stuff. The premium leads, it jumps into different ones for pre-foreclosure. We call them zombie properties. These are like vacant ones that are also in foreclosure. Flip deals, active investor owned, all that stuff, potentially inherited. It's going to run AI sellability score. So it takes all the public data and then it overlays AI technology on top of it to give you the likelihood that the property is going to sell in the next 12 months, right? The likelihood it's going to sell in the next 12 months. So that gives you all that. What types of properties can you find? Apartment properties. It does single family as well. It'll do single family for you as well. But apartment properties, retail, agricultural, hospitality, industrial, office, land, and special purpose like parking garage, marinas, theaters, gyms, stuff like that, daycare facilities, all that stuff. So that's the special purpose stuff. It allows you to market on top of them. So once you're finding the properties, how do you actually like market to these? And it does it through direct mail. You can do right in the back end postcards and letters right out through the system. You can do email marketing campaigns. It allows you to skip trace, to do phone calls and text messaging directly to people as well, to be able to locate the owners and see if they want to sell. Okay. All of that stuff is part of that. So business tools, it gives you all of that in the back end. Deal analyzers, a full-blown CRM attached to it, all that stuff.
What's up, how you doing? I'm going to show you our software today, realestateradar.ai, and what it does for you for single family and multifamily to find off-market deals direct to owners and sellers. What it'll do for you. Let me show you. So this thing's pretty crazy. You're going to get a big kick out of it. So let me walk in here. What's great about this thing is how it finds off-market deals for you anywhere in the United States and overlaying AI technology to it. Let's jump in. All right, welcome on in to a quick little demo. I'll try to make this quick and sweet for realestateradar.ai. I'm going to give you a little bit of the features, the benefits, what it is. Specifically, we put this together for ourselves, mostly because we wanted to find off-market, pre-market, multifamily deals anywhere in the United States. And we have the direct-to-broker approach that we teach and we know and we use. But getting more data, more information, 150, 160 million plus properties around the United States for multifamily apartment buildings. And that's what we designed this thing for ourselves. So I'm going to go through some of the features. So real quick, most complete investment software out there overlays AI technology on the actual.
Yeah, you may want to turn up your volume. It's a little low, so just turn it up.
Likelihood that something's going to sell in the next, say, 12 to 24 months. Give you all kinds of filters and everything, so we'll go through them. Main features are nationwide leads, both for residential. So if you're a flipper, if you're a wholesaler, perfect for you. If you're more into the commercial space, you want multifamily commercial, it's all there too. Go through that.
I'm going to speed it up a little bit for you.
Postcards, mailers, anything else, anyone in the system, skip tracing for phone number.
And then let me fast track to get into the back end for
You
you.
can come right into the lead pipe set. Go just investor left, built it out for that. So let's go to the commercial side, and I already set it up for, I did Columbus, Ohio. I just want to start with that one, just kind of get an idea of what's out there. And this is going to pull up all types of properties. I went in and segmented it out. I wanted 10 to 30 unit, 10 plus unit deals. I wanted in Columbus, Ohio, specifically in that small city. And I just want to see what's going to come up. So we have about 1,700 different properties that I can come in and look at. And this is a 33 unit property over there, right? So I can click on this baby, give you an idea of what it pulls up for you and what this thing entails. All right, so I'm zooming in down on this. You got a 33 unit property, multi-story. You can do targeting maps. So let's say I like this property, but I couldn't get in touch with the seller. Things were difficult. I can actually target this property in AI match overlay to find similar properties around it that are just like it, and I can target those too. So that'll do that. You can add it to your leads. You can come in here. It's going to give you some overlaying data for the real estate. It says an absentee owner. It's upside down. Gives you the LLC data. You can skip trace it from here and actually pull the phone numbers and emails and mailing address for it. So that way you can reach out direct to the owners. This is also going to pull loan data and loan information for you. You can filter by it. If you want to try and pull in loans that are either coming up, coming due, any of that stuff, you can do that through the filters here too. You can save all these deals to a property CRM system and come in here. And then from here, you can actually do more and drop in contacts. So this is where you're going to get the owner data, the owner information, and you can connect a contact to a property or a property to a contact, and then run the data on it to be able to reach out to them. You want to do marketing? You want to do direct?
Yeah, you can see all that in there. I see in your chats here. I did put in the link for you guys. If anybody wants to take a look at it, you can trial it out. 7 days, $7. Just trial it out and see if you like it. If you do, then it's $149 per month. And what that includes is commercial properties and residential, all the premium leads, AI technology on top of it, marketing stuff on top of that. So it's a whole background setup on that. The skip tracing, I believe, is only a few cents per skip trace. You get a package on that if you want to actually do extra skip tracing for phone numbers and emails. It'll pull that stuff up, but it's fractional. It's very, very small. But it really is pretty cool. If anybody is looking for a deal finding software and you want to utilize that, I wanted to kind of share that with all of you guys tonight. Updated daily. Right now it has about 160 million properties. These are all off-market things. So these aren't on-market listings. This is all just assets that you can go and search any property lot in the United States, anywhere, and run analysis on it lot by lot, or you can run filters and segment it all out. Yes, it does cost to skip trace. Like I said, it's a few pennies on it. You can buy a package in it. I mean, it's minimal. I don't know exact dollar figures. I'll have to look at it, but it's very, very minimal. How do we cancel after 7 days? In the back end of the system, you can hit a subscription and you can cancel right there. You can also email us and stuff too. The customer service support team will cancel it if you need it. But I would say, Tom, you don't want to be worrying about quitting before you even start. Right? I mean, I get it. And it's a great software. It really is. We use it right now. That's how we have our Deals on Demand program for all the people inside of our mentorship and community. And that's how we're able to find deals. We're wholesaling deals all over the place. We're taking deals for ourselves. And we use it as our part of our guarantee that if we can't help locate a deal that makes financial sense in 90 days or less, we can hand one to you on a silver platter. It's pre-vetted, ready to go. And the software helps us do that. We developed it for ourselves. We were using it for quite some time. And now we're putting it out to our community and our people. So does this include direct-to-broker deals as well? No, the direct-to-broker approach is going to be done through utilizing the on-market platforms. So just so you understand, the direct-to-broker approach, like we talked about a little bit earlier, you're going to use the online marketplaces unless you already have a network of brokers, but most people don't. So if you do not have a network of brokers, you find out who the brokers are in your market by going to Correxy or LoopNet, looking for properties in your area, identify 3 properties with 3 different brokers for people that are doing deals, and then you're going to set appointments, you're going to talk to them, and you're going to want to tour those properties. And then in touring the properties, you're not touring them to buy the deal. You're touring them to meet the broker. So that way you can have a conversation, get belly to belly, eyeball to eyeball. Because then after that, and you actually even submit an offer on it, it's irrelevant about the deal. Now I'm making a connection to say, hey, John, Mr. Broker, look, we're probably too far apart. Price is here, we're here. Numbers don't really financially make sense, but we're going to buy. And I'm a buyer in the market. I'd love to buy through you. Can you send me some deals that maybe you're working on that aren't on the websites right now? Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Let me go ahead and get your email and I'll go ahead and put you on our database list and you can get into our pre-market little party that happens before we put the properties on the websites. And that's how that game is done. That's how every single person in our community finds the deals to start, right? And they're utilizing software, but the direct-to-broker approach is hands down, in my opinion, one of the best methods. No, but that's where you ask the brokers and the owners for them. So when you find an owner that wants to say, yeah, I'd like to sell, you're going to ask that owner for a couple pieces of financial information. One's called a T12. It's a profit and loss statement for the last 12 months. The other piece of information is a rent roll. Okay, those are the two pieces that you can ask for, and that financial information will allow you to analyze the deal and determine what to offer. If a broker's involved, if the property is in that phase of broker, then the broker is going to have that financial data for you. Yeah, the deferred maintenance and all that stuff would come later, Tom. Once you actually write an offer on it, you would find out what kind of deferred maintenance versus CapEx expenses and all that stuff. But once again, this is a bit of the weeds type stuff that, listen, there isn't a question you can ask me that I can't answer, which is why people come in and get mentored and handheld and stuff and taught through communities and all of that, because I've seen just about every rodeo. If I don't have the answer, my partners who have been doing it far longer than me, they have every answer. They've dealt with every single financial crisis known to man. They've been through every single scenario, structure, deal structure, legal structure. I mean, if we don't know it, I don't think anybody does. But yes, that's a lot of weed stuff that we would get into. Seriously, a lot of these, and I'm impressed. I appreciate that, Tom. Appreciate that. No, it cannot be utilized in other countries, Juliana. The reason why, this is really a US-based thing, mainly because of the way deals are legally structured and then financially structured from a lending perspective. Most other countries don't have our credit systems the way that we do here in the United States. So it's a little tougher. I mean, technically it can, but to be honest with you, a lot of other countries don't have, because they don't have the structure, legal structures, and they don't have the credit systems and money systems we have. So it's not as advantageous in other countries. Yeah. A lot of things are done with cash around the world, believe it or not. I mean, debt's there, but it's not treated the same way that we run our credit systems today. Justin, if the bond market crashes, how would that affect multifamily opportunities and cash flow? Well, that the bond market crashes, Sean, multifamily is going to be the least of your concerns. You may be praying to baby Lord Jesus. No, you're going to have a currency crisis issue if that happens, right? So the US dollars, it will collapse if that happens. And you'll want to be in other asset classes, multifamily and tangible assets being one of them. Bullion, meaning gold, coins, jewelry, platinum, palladium, silver. You want to be in bullion. You want to be in commodities, tangible assets like corn, rice, other commodities. You want to be in tangible assets that can trade in any currency. That's how you mitigate your damage from a currency crisis, which inevitably we're going to have, by the way. We're going to have a currency crisis, 100%. If people are trying to figure out what's going to be the next big downturn and big balloon to pop, it's currency. You're staring at it every day. When you have 36 trillion or debt or whatever the heck it is now, the ship's out to sea, it's filling up with water. They're not turning it back around. And I don't care if it's Republican, Democrat, Timbuktu purple, it doesn't matter. They all know the ship's going out, which is why you're starting to see cryptos play a bigger piece of the game, which is why the current administration is pushing it so hard. They know that the days are ending. Did you know that during COVID, the Chinese developed the digital yuan, the digital yuan? The US, Jerome Powell, designed the digital dollar. Hence the reason that that's being now connected with the USD coin, right? The USD coin on Coinbase, or not on Coinbase, but on in the cryptos, the USD coin. That's basically mimicking the US dollar today. But trust me, guys, you better start buying some digital coins and wallets. And I would stick with the main ones, right? Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP, a couple other ones in there. But you got to learn that game and start playing it and putting your money into it. Even if, guys, even if you don't utilize it, okay, this is what you should do. You all should have it. You should put your money into Coinbase or one of the other major players. And then you're going to get a coin. You're going to get a card like this, right? This is a, I don't know if you can see this thing. Can you see it? Oh, there, oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, Visa coin, Coinbase card. It's just like a debit card, treated just like, I mean, I go to Vaughn's, I use it, and it makes the exchange, and it takes it out of my Bitcoin, right? Same thing. So it's all moving that direction, but you want it into other asset classes. Because if you're sitting in the US bank system right now and all your money's in it, it could be a rough day someday. So you want to move into other tangible asset classes, other digital asset classes, because you can move the money in and out of these things left and right, but put it into the USD coin. Even if you don't want to trade cryptos, put it into the USD coin, which mimics the US dollar, sit it in Coinbase, and use your card just like a debit card, and your money's out of the US banking system, or at least a portion of it. And don't keep any more than 6 months. 6 months of what calculate what your expenses are. No more than 6 months of those expenses should sit in any bank account at any point in time. You should always be filling it up and keeping it right around 6 months no matter what. So that way, in the case of a shit show happening, you got your money out in other things and other ways to move that money around, so you're not sitting there with like a deer in headlights going like, I didn't see this coming. Yes, you did. And this guy on a Zoom call, on a Tuesday night told you. It's coming. Trust me. Yes, multi-units are a tangible asset you can trade into any currency, which is why any tangible assets like real estate are a beautiful thing to be holding. Okay, beautiful thing to be holding. Yeah, who knows what the administration's doing, but listen, it's a process away from the dollar. At some point, it's going to change, and it's going to happen, guys. And it's just history. It's history. You can go back all the big empires before us. Most world reserve currencies, FYI, and the British pound being the last one, most world reserve currencies last about 40 to 50 years. Okay? The US dollar was the world's reserve currency in 1971 when Nixon took us off the gold standard. That's when we became a fiat. We're off the gold standard fiat, but we became the world's reserve currency at that point. Since then, we've been there. We're over 50 years right now. So we are like really pushing it. I'm just telling you, when you have 36 trillion in debt and $2 trillion deficits or whatever the heck it is, it's irrelevant at this point. The ship's filling up with water. It's going to sink. You need to be prepared. There's no way around it. So you need to move into other asset classes, such as real estate, digital coins. Go buy gold. I literally have gold. I'm not going to tell you where, but it is in a safe, and it's next to some guns. Okay? It's just the way it works. And it's physical gold and physical silver. And that's just the way it works. So in commodities, go buy a bunch of rice or something, or coin, commodities. But you have to be in other asset classes that are tangible, that you can move into any currency at any point in time. Your digital ones are the fastest, okay? So that was off tangent, but that is your money course for tonight as well.